decimal. There are issues that are product of the 2009 agreement between ASSU and the federal government, and a majority of which have been addressed, but probably not to the satisfaction of ASSU. As much as it is desirable that we sit down and address this particular issue, it is imperative, Your Excellency, that if a very serious tripartite committee will be set up between the executive, the ASSU, and perhaps the leadership of the National Assembly to be represented by relevant committees of the House to holistically look at these issues and address them once and for all, Your Excellency. Otherwise, what we're going to do at the end of the day might be like an ad hoc intervention. This issue may be addressed now, and after a couple of times, both parties will return to the trenches. Therefore, Your Excellency, I knew most of the issues, like I said, have kept recurring. And for this one, the pillars we received as a brief from the ministry is to the effect that government is willing and has indeed released the amount in contention. The real issue is the sharing formula that caused disaffection, particularly among members of ASSU. Therefore, Your Excellency, if you will permit, I would not want to do the brief for them. They should be invited to, again, explain to your good self and the audience. And
of course, the members of ASSU, good afternoon, and I'm glad that you're here today. I call this tripartite meeting for us to find one short-term, intermediate, and long-term solutions to the problem at hand. I think it would be most irresponsible for many of us to be here as leaders and sit by and watch things fall apart. We know the consequences if ASSU goes on strike. What we don't know sometimes is the unintended consequences, and this can be far-reaching. Education is very key, it's very critical, and that's why we're seated here today. I think everybody here, whether you're from the legislative arm, from the executive, or from the side of ASSU, everybody wants well and means well for the country and for our children. But I do not believe that we can afford another strike. I have a fair idea what the issues are, but I believe ASSU will be able to enlighten us, like you rightly said, on issues that we may not be aware of. But whatever those issues are, there's nothing that cannot be resolved. We've done this several times in the health sector and even in the education sector last year. And it cannot continue to be a perennial exercise. And I'm going to be a little bit frank, and I'd want to beg your pardon, whoever may not like what I have to say, but strikes cannot be incessant. Strikes cannot be the tool that we use at all times. Strikes are meant to be used when everything finally breaks down. At the same time, honestly, honorable ministers, on the part of government cannot be seen at all times to come into agreement, and the agreement is not even what the paper is written on. So all sides really are to blame, maybe even the legislature, in terms of our oversight. So we must take equal share of the blame. How do we now resolve the issues? That's the most important thing here, how we resolve this issue. And I agree with you, Chairman, about a tripartite committee to look into the issues, but for me, that is for the longer term. I think this issue, and I pray and I hope that this issue will be resolved today. It's it's not about setting up committees again. That committee is futuristic to sort out, dot the I's, cross the T's of the things that we are unable to resolve. But I believe that, and I hope that by the time we're done today, ASSU will be in a position to genuinely and in good faith, call off your warning strike. You're not on strike yet. And let's get back to business. I hope we'll be able to resolve at least the critical, the ones that are important, the low-hanging ones, we'll be able to resolve today. And then the rest of it, we'll set up that committee so that this will be a thing of the past, so that we won't have the same thing, like you rightly said, next year or the year after. So that's, in a nutshell, that's why I called this meeting, for us to put heads together and figure out how we can resolve the issues. So I think, like you rightly said, the best thing is for ASSU, who, quote and unquote, for want of a better term, are the complainants here. Let them state their case, and then we can have the Honorable Minister or the Honorable Minister of Education or Finance give us the government perspective.
And as usual, the government team was supposed to go back to the government and say, this is what we negotiated. If you agree, let us sign. But if you have issue, let us look at it and go back to the panel. Since May till today, they've not come to us. We were told initially that by the end of August, we will be communicated. Then we met again in October. It was not done. But we met in October on this issue again and said by the end of October, this issue they would have discussed. They would set a committee to look at it and reach back to the union. But I am speaking to you that they have not also reached back to the union. With her salary and not remember our check-off, this is the IPs and the reason we have the issue with IPs. As we speak so, according to our IPs document, which we just got today, up to 11, 12, 14, 15 months salary of our members have not been paid. This is their document. Have not been paid. So if a lecturer has not been paid for 13 months, I would say that particular IPs is sound, it is error-free, and you cannot pay salary. Some will pay 4 months, they will stop. They pay 2 months and stop, and what have you. They are not acknowledging that there are people they pay double salary. A system that will mistakenly pay, a computerized system that will mistakenly pay a lecturer double salary, is that worthy to be used? Is it proof? Is it error proof? And so many. This is their document. I will also make a copy and give to you so that you will read it. And we just got this today. Then on UTAS, because of problem we have with these IPs, in 2014, we told them that this thing cannot solve the problem of a university. For those who are working in university, you will know. University is not just like a civil service. In a university, it is promoted that you allow foreigners, people from outside, to come and teach in university the way Nigerians go out to teach. You can also allow people that you have a special area where you don't have the required manpower to go to a nearby university to get somebody to come on an adjunct basis to teach those courses. These are all allowed all over the world. It's not just Nigeria. But IPs have thrown that away. As we speak so, and I will tell somebody, I attended a state university, Rivers State University of Science and Technology. In my department, then we have lecturers from 5 different countries in one department. But today we are even going to lecturer being either state or local government. Majority of lecturers in the university are from that state or from that local government. That's how we have reduced our university. Because of this, we said we will produce a system that will capture all the peculiarity in university in 2014. And they agree with us then, the Minister of Finance. They agree with us and say each of the unions should bring 2 members to meet with the government team and produce a system that will work. ASSU sent his team. We didn't hear from the ministry again. Until 2017, when they now want to coerce everybody into joining IPs. And we are talking about IPs. IPs is a foreign program from which the country is paying. Paying every month, every year. And we are saying, is it that our academic cannot produce such a program that even banks are using, and what have you, that we cannot produce what we go and buy? And 2, it is also not right for you to put all the data of all your academics, your best brain, put them and give to foreign. No country will do that. But that's what we are doing today with our academy. And we said no. And we were challenged in 2020 that we should produce one, which we did. Within 4 months, we demonstrated this to the office of the Senate President here. And it was not voted. We demonstrated this to the office of the Accountant General in his office. It was not voted. We demonstrated to the Vice Chancellors and registrars. It was not voted. Then, after a long time, I mean, this was given to them in January. After a long time, we were told that we have one issue that we should demonstrate to end users, which we also did in August. And as last meeting we had with the person representing the NIDA, which was supposed to test it, told us that he passed through all these stages and they were positive. And they were mandated that their report is ready. They will send it by the end, before the end of October. We're in November, we have not seen that report. And we asked the question when we met with NIDA. When these IPs came to this country from outside, was imported, was it tested by NIDA to know whether it is error-proof? They said no. So the one that came from outside, you refused to test, and you started applying. But the one generated within, you say you must test. And to test it, it's taking almost a year, they cannot test it, which means it is a deliberate thing. And when you look at the report also, by the office of the Accountant General, they stated in some of that as soon as our member come there, because we agreed at that meeting that we should not enroll until we are finished this year and supply. And they wrote here that when they come here and finish registration, they will be paid. Which means what they were doing is try to blackmail the people to come and register. You hold somebody's salary. The list is here, is heavy. This is for 4 universities. So in all the universities, put it together, as at now, more than 10,000 people, I still have one problem on the other with IPs, among the academic and non-academic staff. So we are saying they should approve the UTAS for the payment of the salary of other universities. And if they find it possible, you should look for a way to use it to pay all our public service salary as our product, free, rather than paying what we find out every year for each person the government is paying on behalf of each person. Then with her salary, and we have other things, but these are the issues we have in the agreement in 2019. Then, in 2020-21, we've had 2 meetings conciliated by the Minister of Labor and Employment. And for all due respect, in all of them, in all these meetings, I will give credit, he insisted an assignment was assigned to ministries and to individuals, but they were never implemented. So that is where we are. If you look at the last 2 documents, one dated 2nd August 2021, the first one we met, and they told us all these things will be done by the end of August. And we went to our next meeting and I told our members that they should not be agitated. At the end of August, these issues would have been resolved, and they agree with us, and that they are giving us, that they trust us, hence they will not take any action. We met in the second one, October 14. When none of them was implemented, we met again, and we are assured that all this, and you have a copy of it there, that all these issues will be resolved by the end of October. October ended, they were also not implemented. So we went back to our members on the 9th and 10th, and they said we have become an accomplice with the government. We are cheating them. On that note, they give the 3 weeks notice for the government to do all these issues they've agreed to do as far back as August 2021. But we are very generous. They were supposed to have done it August 2021. By October, it was not done, and we are giving them additional 3 weeks to ensure that these things they agreed they will do as at the end of August are all implemented. It's not that we are threatening strife, but we are saying let them do what they said they can do. And thank God I had the minister also saying that it's possible. So that's why we are here, sir. Thank you very much for the invitation. I want to thank you for your intervention. And we believe that this intervention should be followed up, because we can be sure when we leave here at this meeting, whatever we agreed on, if it's not followed up, they will not be implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our colleagues from the ministries, the ASSU reps here. Thank you very much. The president of ASSU has spoken to a couple of items that over the years have led us to this point. And a lot of them, everything here he said, exactly what we at the Ministry of Education have worked out with them. So everything is really
He has traced the genesis of this from 2009 to where we are, which is at the implementation stage of almost everything that we agreed to. So key among them, because he has also pointed out that a lot of them have also been met, the visitation panel has been done, we're just working on the paper committee. He's also said about all the things that are not financial, actually all have all been, he kept saying that we've met with all of them. The key ones that are standing, which is whether we can use UTAS or IPs and the way it works, those are continuing discussions, and I don't think those are subjects for strike. But the immediate items of the revitalization sums, I can confirm that that revitalization sum, the way we agreed, has actually been released. In October, Malam Adamu, Minister of Education, did indeed write the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Honorable Accountant General of the Federation for the releases, and we gave the schedule, as agreed with them, of what each university should get. And they have actually, I have confirmed at this meeting, sir, that they indeed have started implementing this from November. The earned allowances, which is the end academic allowances, because the confusion that came with the promise the federal government did make was that as soon as it was announced, SANU, the non-academic group in the universities, also put in some sort of wedge into that. It was resolved that a percentage be then ascribed to them. Following that, we had to then rescale the way we were now supposed to pay the end allowances of the remaining percentage, which is the bulk of the money to ASSU, but with adjustments in the percentages. That guidance has already been worked out at the ministry. The ministry will submit that letter today to the Ministry of Finance. They don't have that letter for that guidance yet. They have the money, but they don't have the guidance. So we are sure that from Monday, they will begin implementing. So there is really no issue on which we and ASSU do not see eye to eye. Everything is agreed, everything has been worked out, everything is fine. We're only worried that, like you pointed out, Mr. Speaker, that the wielding of this strike matter. For our position in the ministry is that there is nothing that ASSU is saying that we do not agree with. There is no reason for them to go on strike at all. There is no reason for strike. It's a continuum. Government is such, you've heard that we've actually submitted the letter to the National Assembly for mainstreaming of this earned allowances. If we didn't think so, sir, we wouldn't have submitted the letter. We did. The National Assembly, by its own laws, may not necessarily be the person to do this. I'm sure they will upscale this to the National Wages and Salaries Commission so that they can then put some sort of guidance around it. So we've done our part. Everything that they've asked us to do, we've done. The country is a continuum. There's no end day for payments. I believe that this will continue. So Mr. Speaker, I'm tempted to say that there is no basis for any disagreement whatsoever. It's just for them to understand that we are not as unconstrained as they are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker and Chair of the. Also, join my colleague to say to ASSU that really the issues that have been iterated today, they're all issues that have been on the table. There has been some delays in implementation. But I want to confirm that on the revitalization fund, we get advice from the Ministry of Education on what to pay. And we paid the last advice on the 8th of November. And also this week we've received another advice for another 10 billion. That will make the 30 billion that was committed to be paid on the revitalization fund. On the UTAS, it is this administration's initiative that any IT investment has to be screened by NITDA. We agreed that the university should design UTAS and submit to us, and when they did, the process for us was to send it to NITDA, and NITDA subjects it to different kinds of checks, including stakeholder consultation. So we are also in the Ministry of Finance waiting for approval to come back to UTAS before we now take the step of asking for deployment of UTAS. We're anxiously looking forward to the deployment, seeing how it works. And if it works, why not? It's developed locally. It will be something that will be useful for us. I'm concerned that the chairman said that there are some staff that have up to 17 months of salaries not paid. I haven't got any such report. We have a report here that shows 4 universities that sent lists, and we have finished paying them. So if the report doesn't come to us, then we will not be able to act on it. So please let us know which universities those are, and let the universities give us the information. We check, and if it is verified, we pay them. As long as we have the information, we'll be able to process and pay them, Mr. Chairman. I want to appeal to ASSU to please not use this weapon or threat of strike, because it's not good for our children and it's not good for the nation. Let us just look at each of these issues and address them as the chairman of the tertiary education institutions has said. There might be also a need to sit back and look at a long-term view, because 1.3 trillion is a very large amount of money to raise. Even at 200 billion per annum is very large. We're really constrained now publicly. So we need to revisit that, and we need to look at what is practically possible to do, even though there was commitments from 2009, then 2013. But the situation physically now is not the same as it was at that time. So please, I want to appeal to the leadership of ASSU as citizens of this country to reconsider the issue of going for strike, and to commit the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to meet whatever funding requirement is agreed to be paid. As long as we have the resources to pay, we will pay. Thank you, Right Honorable Chair.
Well, thank you very much. We must shift some ground. You referred me to a document, and I think that's the one you talked about. Which one? Is that document A that you are referring me to? A. So I'm trying to understand, because in that document, the first page, it says the issues. It outlines, the heading is the issues, correct? All that talks about, and I can read it, you can read it to me. Number 1, funding for revitalization of public universities. The ASNUC informed the meeting that 30 billion had been allocated to the public university, and the vice chancellors were invited to defend their proposals for the fund. The exercise took place at the NUC from 4th to 8th of October 2021. Some vice chancellors could not defend their proposals convincingly and were asked to go back to effect corrections. However, a good number of them went through successfully. The report had been compiled and transmitted to the Minister of Education to enable the minister release the money allocated to the successful universities. The final document will be presented to the MOL&E and ASSU for records and monitoring. The ASNUC assured that the universities will get the funds on or before the end of October 2021. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this meeting, you referred me to this document. It speaks only to 30 billion. It doesn't speak to 200, which we all know 220 billion is part of the agreement of 2009. But the recent meeting of October speaks only to 30 billion. And that is why I said that all I've been hearing from ASSU in the last few days, that they were not faithful to the 30 billion money agreed. So now they're here and they're saying you have your 30, end of October, this was end of October. We're just that was 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. And that's why and when you made your presentation of the president, you were talking about 30 billion as a part of the 2020, but it was not that the negotiation or whatever you agree about 220 billion is what we want to discuss. We're discussing 30 billion. And then after that, we discuss the remainder of 180, 190. Yeah, it's even 170 that they said here somewhere. We will discuss it. We will discuss it. But for the purposes of this strike or impending strike, and to show good faith, and to bear in mind the children that who you represent. You don't represent yourself. You don't represent your union. As far as I'm concerned, you represent the children that you teach, the boys and girls that you teach. That's who you represent. And you know, to say, and I agree with you, sometimes about the procedure, but I think you are also here, like you rightly said, on behalf of your members. And your members cannot send you here without their mandate. You have their mandate. I'm here on behalf of members of the House of Representatives. I can take a decision here on their behalf. The ministers are ready to take a decision on behalf of government, of the executive. We are ready to take a decision on behalf of the legislature. You should be able to. They have given you their mandate unless they are suspicious of you. If they're not suspicious of you, which I know they have, I mean, I've heard you, I know how passionate you have taken this matter, how selflessly you have taken this matter. So I think it's a tripartite meeting to now say you want to go back to them and then come back. By that time, you have started your strike now. So please, Mr. President.
I want to know here from the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
If that money has actually been released to all the universities that are successful.
The 20 billion that was first advised to us by Education has
how much?
20 billion was released on the 8th of November. And we've just
8th of November.
8th of November.
But there's another 10 there.
There's another 10 that we've just received, and we have the funds to pay that as well. So we'll process it in the next couple of days.
So by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they should have their money.
Yes, a week max.
Mr. President.
Balance of the time.
I just remember that we don't generate the schedules to pay. It has to be advised to us.
No. Yeah, it has to be advised by
Education, and I think Education
they've just
gets
done
it
that
from
now.
NUC and so on, yes.
So that we can move on to the next issue. God bless you. Your reward is in heaven. Okay. So thank you very much, honestly. So the other issue, there's an issue that is of concern to me, Honorable Minister, that they brought up. I think the President, you said you have a list of shortfall of payments. Okay. Where are we with that?
We heard from the Minister of Education
that they're trying to share your money.
That they tried to change what we have agreed on at the meeting with conciliated by the Honorable Minister of Labor and Employment. That is, they've gone to change it, and that sounds strange. So we need to know.
Honorable Minister, please let's give them their money. Let them go and fight among themselves what they want to do. Honestly, if it's the Honorable Minister, you said it's the non-academic people that said they wanted is that part of the problem?
We need to know from them, because what we negotiate for our members, not for the other unions. At that meeting, the reasons, the person who gave the report at that meeting, those who were there, is the executive secretary of the National University Commission, and he gave reason for that. What is ASSU owned? Our own is well calculated. If you need it from 2009, when it was agreed, 2021, we have our calculated amount. And that, you don't just wake up and share money in what we call as in academia. You don't share money. You give to those who earn it.
Yeah, you may.
Yes, you don't have to share. Our calculation is there, based on which NUC then, and this reported. There was a committee that reported, and it was adopted by the floor. So why should somebody go behind and change what happened?
Okay, but maybe you have something to say, and then also. Okay, Honorable Minister. Thank you.
Well, like I did point out earlier, we have no issues with the end allowances. The letter we get to Minister of Finance today, that letter has already gone. It's the scheduling, just like you the way these things are done, you have a bulk figure, and then there's a breakdown of which university get. What they need is the advice. And that work is done by those who supervise the NUC. They do that and they upload it to us, and then we then advise Ministry of Finance. The money is not in our custody, it's in the custody of Ministry of Finance. So normally we give them a schedule like this with universities, how many, that's what I said earlier, that there is no disagreement with that. That will reach you, it has reached Ministry of Finance today, so maybe by Monday, they should start working on the end allowance part. I already said that they would not. Yeah.
It's talking about their money being shared or something. What about being shared?
We also, at the meeting, we're giving copies of that, of what NUC did. It is also possible for you to see the final product that went to the Ministry of Finance.
Yeah, there won't be any difference between what you do.
You are okay with what NUC did?
Yes.
Is that what so based on what you're saying, I have to say that it's speculation that you heard that they're trying to do something?
No, he said they worked on this. Because that's that.
Okay, so but if what NUC advised is what they did,
There's no problem, yes.
Okay, so
that's what we agreed on.
and you are saying here that it's exactly what they did. System, and it can be deployed, no problem. And I believe the Minister of State Education is saying the same thing. What we'll do on that issue is the Committee on Education and is it IT? What's the Lados committee? Yes. ICT Lados committee. They will link up with you. The Committee on Education and the Committee on ICT in the House will link up. I don't think the President is listening to me. They will link up with you on this issue of UTAS to get NIGDA to give their final approval. You work with them on that, send whatever it needs to be done, and then we'll look at how to deploy it. I think that is straightforward. The minister is here, she has said it, and the Minister of Education. And then on the renegotiation of the balance and whatever else there is to be renegotiated, at the beginning, what I said was the low-hanging fruits, let's deal with it, which we have dealt with, and we'll set up a tripartite committee. Now at least the House is involved. They'll be part of it. The Committee on Education will be part of it with you and the honorable ministers. That's a tripartite meeting that they will be involved in the renegotiation. You can't even leave the House that has the power of appropriation out of such renegotiation. Anyway, so they will be part of it, and then we move forward.